So today, we are going to get into um, Dead by Daylight's survivor perks. I'm going to be doing a tier list. Um, it is going to include the newest three perks that are coming out with Elodie. Um, so bear in mind that we haven't been able to run them yet, so we don't know full functionality. But we can go over the description, see what we think. Um, but nonetheless, the goal of today is we're going to go through every survivor perk in the game. We're going to tier them um, for functionality, usefulness. Um, we'll take into consideration things like if they go well paired with something, if they're only good paired with something, outright useful, outright use, heavily useful, useless, etc. But that is the goal. Now I have a tier list made up. It's going to be a little wonky just because the new three perks weren't a part of it. I found a way to manually add them in, so you'll have to bear with me on that. But we're going to go ahead and go over to it, and we're going to get started. So over here, as you can see, um, we're looking at all the perks from the Survivor side of the game, and our tiers: trash, less than needed. It's useful, pretty solid, and God tier. So we're going to rank things out, see how they go. We're going to start with the three new perks that we have no physical conception of, just based on description. So those are these three we have at the bottom here. And again, I have to do them manually, so you'll have to excuse me as I look away to do it. I'll be looking this way and then looking back at you to get the description. But basically, so first up we have appraisal. Now, from what we have with the description, appraisal is you start the trial with 3 tokens, and when a chest has already been opened, you can consume a token to search it for an item. And you also unlock chests 40, 60, and 80% faster based on the tier of the perk. Um, that sounds awesome, honestly. It basically just gives you 3 free searches. um, Additional searches for an item, as far as I understand. Now, granted, I might be misunderstanding it, but that's the best understanding I have. I'm going to go ahead and say, um, yeah, I'm going to put this over here. It's useful. I'm putting it on the side. I know I am. Again, because I have it in a separate layer of things, it won't register properly with when I start adding things from the actual tier list. So you'll have to bear with me on that. But that's where that's going to go for now. Next up, we have deception. You can interact with a locker while holding sprint to trigger a loud noise notification for the killer at your location instead of entering the locker, and don't leave scratch marks for 3 seconds. And then you can do this once a minute, 50 seconds, and 40 seconds, again, based on the tier. I think that's a really cool perk, but I think its functionality is very difficult because you basically need to just really hope that the killer doesn't notice you. Um, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and put appraisal in pretty solid and put deception in it's useful because it has its moments. Um, but again, and things might change more here and there. So, last up for these extra perks that aren't in the game yet, we have power struggle. Um, while being carried by the killer, reaching 35, 30, 25, depending on your tier, percent of wiggle progress activates power struggle. While in power struggle is activated, or while it's active, I'm sorry, you can drop a nearby standing pallet and stun the killer to be released, and then it deactivates. This is huge. This it's got to be put up in the top tier. It has to be. It's insane. The idea of a perk where you can pallet stun for yourself while you're being carried is awesome, especially if you combine that with perks that let you either A, wiggle faster, or B, um, if you combine it with a perk where um, a perk like oh, I can't think of the name of it right now, flip flop with Ash, where your recovery progress converts half of your recovery progress converts to wiggle progress. You could get into a pallet and recover with flip flop, and potentially already have enough to pallet stun yourself to freedom. So that's huge, if you ask me. It's absolutely huge. Um, but that's the three new perks. I might be a little bold saying that that's a god tier perk. I might have to drop it down. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and drop it down right now. We'll move that over. I'm going to put that at the forefront of pretty solid. And again, I know that these are off to the side and they look funky, but it's just because the perks won't register well otherwise. But now we can go ahead and get into the perks that are in the game that I have experience using. Um, and we're going to start with Ace in the Hole. So, um, in my opinion, Ace in the Hole is pretty cool. So, for those of you, also for the record, we are going to go over every perk just because a lot of people haven't used every perk. So we're gonna go over everyone. So skip a couple seconds in the video if you don't want to hear the description of each perk every time I get to what perk I'm going to be using or talking about. Ace in the Hole is whenever you retrieve an item from a chest, it's 100% chance that an add-on of very rare rarity or lower will be attached. So basically, every time you search a chest, guaranteed to have an add-on. Every time. Also, 10, 25, 50 percentages based on your level. 50% being the best. And going forward, I'm just going to talk about max tier because saying the individual numbers is just going to get annoying. So going forward, every perk at tier 3. Um, 50% chance you'll have a second add-on of uncommon or rarity or lower. Um, and if you escape, you get to keep your add-ons. Um, it's just good. It's just good. That's all there is to it. It doesn't need to be paired with anything. Then you talk about potentially pairing it with something like appraisal, stuff like that. It's a great perk and it belongs in pretty solid. It just does. It belongs in pretty solid. It might be at the tail end of pretty solid, but for now it belongs in pretty solid. Adrenaline. Now, I can tell you now, I don't personally use adrenaline, but that's because I like personally perks that have functionality throughout the whole game. But I'm not going to let my personal feelings um, too much affect where this goes. Obviously, my personal feelings have to be involved, but I will not let it be the sole factor of my decisions. Adrenaline, um, whenever the final generator is completed or the killer closes the hatch, which powers all the generators. Whenever the generators become powered, you instantly heal one health state, so dying to injured, injured to healthy. Um, and for 5 seconds, you run at 1.5 speed. Um, and you suffer from exhaustion. Or no, I'm sorry. Yes, you suffer from exhaustion, but it ignores being exhausted. So even if you're exhausted, it activates, which is awesome. It wakes you up if you're asleep. It's a pretty it's got its uses. Personally, I don't use it because I don't like last game kind of thing, end game things, but it's useful. There's just no arguing. It's useful. It's really good, and it can come in clutch at the end. Next up, we've got Aftercare. Also, I should say who these perks belong to. So, Ace in the Hole, that belonged to Ace, obviously. Adrenaline is a Meg perk. Up next, we have Aftercare, which is a Jeff perk. Um, whenever you rescue a um, survivor from a hook, um, or someone rescues you from a hook, or you completely heal somebody, or they completely heal you. Um, you can see their aura for the rest of the game. Again, this is a tier 3. Um, at tier 3, you'd be able to see all 3 people once you've either hook saved them, they've hook saved you, you've healed them, they've healed you. Once one of those interactions happens, you can see them for the rest of the game. It's pretty good, especially if you're gonna be like the rescue guy. It's useful. It's not the best perk. I don't see a lot of people run it. It doesn't have a meta to it. It's good because you can see people once you've interacted with them. It's very good for people that do that kind of build. Now, alert. Um, alert is next. Alert's a Feng perk. Whenever the killer does a break action, so they break a pallet, they break a wall, they damage a generator, you see their aura for 5 seconds. It's an awesome perk. It belongs at the forefront of pretty solid. It's so useful. Anytime something like that happens, you know. Now, granted, invisible killers. So Wraith, Tier 1 Michael, Crouching Pig, Stalking Ghostface, um, survivors like that, um, ineffective. But you still know they're breaking stuff. You still get that alert. So them breaking things, you could still get the kind of the memo, oh, hey, they're doing something. If somebody just saw them at a generator, they're kicking it. Stuff like that. But overall, there's not enough stealth killers in the game to say that this is anything less than pretty solid. After that, we have Any Means Necessary. Any Means Necessary is a Yui perk. You can press and hold the activate ability button for 4 seconds and stand up a dropped pallet. And you can do it once a minute at tier 3. It's useful. It's not great. It sounds really cool in principle, but most killers break pallets. Most killers respect pallets, and they break them. It's it's useful in thought. It's not as useful in application, but it's better than less than needed. So it's useful is a good place for that. After that, we've got Autodidact, which is an Atom perk. Um, you start the trial with negative 25% progression for skill checks to healing survivors. But every time you succeed on a skill check, up to 5 times, you get a 15% increase to your skill check progression. So, mathematically, 15 times 5 would be 75. No. Yes, 75. 15 times. So, theoretically, at tier 3, once you've gotten 5 successful skill checks, every time you get a healing skill check, non-medkit, medkits don't affect autodidact, aren't affected by didact either. Um, if you have tier 3, once you hit 5 successful skill checks, all of your skill checks from then on out when healing will have a 50% increased benefit. I think it's less than needed. And I hate to put something there already, but it just is. It's less than needed, guys. You're suffering in the beginning. Your first 2 skill checks, you're receiving a 25% progression penalty for them. Well, your first one to 25%, your second one 10%. Then you'll get 5%. Oh, I'm sorry, you wouldn't get 75%. I'm just lying. Oh, no, no, no. Yeah, because it would account for the rest, so you get to 50. Okay, we're good. My apologies. I'm trying here. Um, yeah, it's just your first 2 skill checks, they're going to have a negative, and then after that, you're getting a little bit of a positive. Especially at low levels, really not useful because you're only getting 3 tokens, so you're getting 20% increase. Not to mention, you don't like. Hopefully, you're not healing enough that that's a thing. It's just not worth it. It's not trash, but it is less than needed. Um, After that, we have Babysitter, which is a Steve from the Stranger Things pack perk. Um, when you unhook a survivor, the rescued survivor doesn't leave scratch marks or pools of blood for 8 seconds. Um, you and the killer see each other's auras for 4 seconds. Realistically, this is this is a bail your friend out kind of thing. Um, it's less than needed. It just is. It's less than needed, guys. It's theoretically, in the event that you need something like that, it would be that the killer's close. If the killer's hanging out that close, you shouldn't be unhooking. And if it's because the killer's tunneling, you have to unhook anyway, they're camping or tunneling, that that scratch marks and pools of blood not being left is not going to prevent that. It's just not worth it. And then you and the killer having auras revealed to one another, it's just a negative. It's just not worth it. Not to mention, most times when you do when you do an unhook, you usually heal somebody. It's less than needed. It just is. Balanced landing. Um, you reduce your stagger from falls by 75%, and you don't make noises, grunting, when you fall. When you land, you basically get a sprint burst, which we haven't gotten to. We will, but basically you get 150% movement speed, so 1.5 movement speed, for 3 seconds if you're not already exhausted, and then it causes exhaustion for 40 seconds. Um, it's useful. I would put it in its useful. And the reason I'm putting it in its useful is because there's not enough situations for falling from a great height happens um, for it to be overly useful. There's not enough multi-level situations. There's a couple maps where you have some of them, but not enough. Especially when you talk about other perks that are options later on. After that, we've got Better Together, which is a Nancy from the Stranger. I should also say the Balanced Landing is a Nia perk. Next up, we have Better Together, which is a Nancy perk from the Stranger Things pack. Um, the aura of a generator you're currently repairing is revealed to any other survivor within 32 meters. Um, if the killer downs a survivor while you're repairing a generator, you see the aura of everybody else for 10 seconds. It's useful. I would put it above both of those. Maybe even above that. I'll put it there. It's useful. It lets people know, hey, come to me, work on this gen. You get some, intel out of it. When people get knocked, if you're working on a gen, you get to see where everyone is. It has its uses. It's not great. It's practically never run, but it's got its uses. Also, for the record, I don't know how well you can see my eyes through this mask, or if you see me kind of lean. I have the descriptions up over on this monitor, so that's why you might see me do this every once in a while. I'm trying to give you the best information I can while doing the tier list. So I'm trying to maintain focus this way, which is why I have things set up on this screen. But over here I have the descriptions. So I'm trying to focus on you as much as I can while giving you the best intel I can. So I hope you understand that. Up next, we have Blood Pact. Blood Pact is a Cheryl perk from the Silent Hill DLC. Um, when you're the obsession, when you or the obsession are injured, you can see each other's auras. After healing the obsession or being healed by the obsession, you both get haste, um, which just makes you faster, up to 7% until you're no longer within 16 meters of each other. Now, it also reduces the odds of you becoming the obsession. However, if you're the obsession, it's no longer an active perk. Clearly. Now, what I will say is, um, this is way better than it used to be. It used to be you got haste for if you were within a certain range for a certain amount of time. Now, you maintain that haste as long as you stay together. That makes it such a better perk. Before I would have said less than needed. Now I'll put it in its useful, right smack dab in the middle. That's where it belongs, and that's really all I got for that one. Up next we have Boil Over, which is a Kate perk. So with this one, struggle effects on the killer are increased by 75%, and when you are within 14 meters of hooks, the killer can't see the hooks. Um, it's useful. It's not great. It's definitely at the bottom of its useful. Right there with balance landing. It's just you know what? I'd put it above balance landing. I'll put it above balance landing and any means necessary. But it's okay. The struggle is the best part because the inability to see hooks within 14 meters doesn't mean anything. It just doesn't. Um, yeah, the struggle, the effect on with your struggles is where it's at. So it's useful. It has its builds. Up next we have Bond, which is a Dwight perk. Bond, you can just see auras of your teammates when they're within 36 meters of you. It's a very basic perk. He was the first survivor. It's very basic. It's useful. I don't think we have to talk about it too much. After that, we have Borrowed Time. Now, Borrowed Time is a Bill perk um, from the Left 4 Dead pack. Borrowed Time, whenever you unhook a survivor within the terror radius of the killer for 15 seconds, if they take damage, they'll suffer a deep wound instead of going into the dying state. And then they'll have 20 seconds to heal to mend themselves. So if you've played the game and you've played against a Legion, you'll know that they can apply deep wounds. Borrowed Time basically gives you a free hit when you get hook rescued, if you're within the killer's terror radius. Things that are important about this. Um, it does not work on silent killers because silent killers don't have a terror radius. It does not work in the dream world because technically you suffer from obliviousness. Does not work. It is a great perk that I would put in God tier if it was just based on distance. If it was just, hey, the killer is within 16 meters of you, it applies Borrowed Time. I would say yes. But the stealth aspect is the reason it has to go into pretty solid because it's just negated by that. But still an amazing perk. The best perk we've discussed by far so far. Unequivocally, the best perk so far. Up next, we got Botany Knowledge. That's a Claudette perk. Um, healing speeds and healing item efficiency is increased by 33%. It's very basic. Again, she's one of the base survivors. Very basic, very useful. 33% healing speed increase. Healing item efficiency is increased by 33%. That's huge. If you have a purple med kit, not only are you getting 33% more out of that med kit, you're also using that med kit and healing, you know, at 1.3 speed. It's amazing. It's a very solid perk. Very solid. I would put it right behind Borrowed Time so far. That's where that would go. Um, yeah. After that, we have Breakdown, another Jeff perk. Um, anytime you're unhooked or you unhook yourself, the hook breaks and the killer's aura is shown to you for 6 seconds. It can only happen once every 3 minutes. Or no, I'm sorry. That's not how that works. The hook doesn't come back for 3 minutes. So, great in a situation where the killer's trying to camp you. Because then if you get unhooked, that hook breaks. Even if they knock you again, they won't be able to just put you right back on that hook. At least you'll have time to struggle. It has its uses. I would put it I'd put it right around Bond. Sure. Um, After that we have another UE perk. It's Breakout. Um, When within 6 meters of a carried survivor, you gain haste of 7%, and the carried survivor's wiggle speed is increased by 20%. Now, that's awesome if that survivor has that pallet perk. But granted, by the time you're there, hopefully you'd be able to pallet stun too. Um, I see this is tough because it's multifunction. I'm gonna go ahead and say it's useful. Fact in its useful. Oh wait, that is not what I meant to do. My apologies. Oops, that's what I meant to do. Right in the middle of its useful. Um, it's not the best, but it has its uses, and being able to give your teammate a 20% wiggle speed increase is awesome. So, and then combined with other things, it could be phenomenal. So that's a good spot for it. Up next, we have an Ash perk. Um, Buckle up. So recovery progress of dying survivors to, can be determined by the intensity of their auras up to 48 meters. So basically, when you see people in the dying state, the more intense their aura gets, the more recovered they are. So you would be able to know how recovered they are. And when you heal a survivor from the dying state to injured, both you and them see the killer's aura for 6 seconds. Um, it's useful. I know that a lot of stuff's going in. It's useful, guys. A lot of perks are supposed to be useful. Hopefully, here by the end of this, most of the perks are in its useful or above. Not too many above, but above. Um, Hopefully, more above than below. And so far, we're right where we should be. It's useful, right where it needs to be. Pretty solid are perks that like you should consider running in most builds. If we get some god tiers, which we will, you should consider running in all builds potentially. Less than needed, you probably shouldn't consider running. If we get some trash, which I have to think about it off the top of my head, maybe. If we get some trash, you probably should never run them, in my opinion. Um, but yeah, so that's where we're at with that. Up next, we have Built to Last. That is a Felix perk from the recent Blight DLC. Once per trial, a depleted item will refill 50% of its charges after 10 seconds. It's a really cool perk. Um, and it kind of goes off something that I used to say I thought would be really cool for the game, which was a perk where you could choose to refill your item by using an ability button in exchange for lowering the quality of the item. Now, I think that would be a way better version because then you have to decide, am I willing to lose rarity to get more of its use? But for now, still really good, really useful, especially with things like botany, that new perk appraisal, things like that. You could have your choice of an item potentially, and then with botany, you could use healing items faster. So if you combined it with botany and used a purple med kit, you get 33% more of the med kit plus 50% more of the med kit with that, and then 33% more with of the 50. It's useful. Could be better in my opinion. I liked the idea I had more, but granted it's my idea. I should like it more, but it's useful. Up next we have a Jake perk. Again, Jake is basic in the game. He's one of the OGs, so his perks are going to be relatively basic. Calm Spirit reduces the chances of alerting crows by 100%. It's less than needed. It's not trash, because you know, you don't want to alert crows if you don't have to, but it's just it's less than needed, and it's at the bottom of the less than needed. It's the worst perk we've talked about so far, because most of the time you don't care. Um, that's really all there is to it. Um, I'm lying. I apologize because it also calms your spirit and prevents you from the urge to scream, and that is something that's huge. it's useful. Because it would then counteract things like infectious fright, the doctor. I completely forgot about that aspect of it. That is on me. That is the only reason it's useful, though. The crows part of it, less than needed. The no longer needing to scream, super useful. Belongs right in its useful. It's a good spot for it. Right around there. Up next, we've got Camaraderie, another Steve perk. While you are on the hook in the struggle phase, Camaraderie activates. If another survivor is within 16 meters of you while Camaraderie is active, your struggle phase timer pauses for 34 seconds. So basically, if you can get another survivor near you, they could stop your struggle phase timer. You'd still be struggling, but you'd basically get more time out of it. We'll put it at the very tail end of its useful. The very tail end. In a very niche build, it might be worth it. But for now, up next we have Dance With Me, another Kate perk. When you perform a fast vault or you leave a locker in a sprint, you don't leave scratch marks for 3 seconds. And it's got a 40-second cooldown. It's useful, but only in niche builds. Something like Life combined with that, awesome. Especially like if you combine it really well, like if you did something like Life, Quick and Quiet, and Dance With Me, that would be huge because you could fast vault without making noise, run really fast, and not leave scratch marks for a couple seconds. And we haven't gotten to Lithe or Quick and Quiet, but that's a build where it would get its way up higher. But again, that's a niche build, so it belongs in its useful. It's not great by itself. It's really good with other perks. Dark Sense. So the way Dark Sense works, this is a generic perk. This is something anybody can get without having to unlock it from another survivor first. Dark Sense is anytime a generator is completed, you see the aura of the killer for 5 seconds. When the last generator is completed, you see the aura for 10 seconds. It's at the bottom of its useful. Here's why I say that. Intel perks are awesome. Anything that gives you aura reading is awesome. But Dark Sense is a only when generators get completed version of Alert. Whereas Alert, anytime something's kicked, anytime something's destroyed, anytime a wall's broken, you get to find out where the killer is. The same way that Dark Sense works, except you don't have to rely on a generator getting completed. Dark Sense is the, at best, 5 times a match version of Alert. Anybody that runs Dark Sense, I would urge you to run Alert instead. Now, maybe you really like Dark Sense. And you like, oh, well, I completed a generator. I know which way the killer is. I can run the other way. And that's fine. If it's useful, use it if you want it. I wouldn't put it in less than it's useful. But it's less useful than Alert, in my opinion. Now, up next, we have one of the most conflicting perks in the game for me and my friend group. Dead Hard. Dead Hard is a David perk. While you're injured, you can use the activate ability button to get a quick dash forward, which during that dash you avoid taking damage. And you become exhausted for 40 seconds. I hate Dead Hard. I hate it. I hate Dead Hard. I don't want to have a perk that requires me to be hurt to use it. I don't like perks like that. But part of that is also my timing with the Dead Hard dash is piss poor at best. Some people's timing with the Dead Hard dash is on point. And so, with that being said, I'm going to put it close to the top of it's useful. I can't stand it. I don't like perks that require me to be hurt, but it has its uses and it has its builds. And that's just all there is to it. Up next, we have Decisive Strike. That is a Lori perk from the Halloween pack. The way Decisive Strike works is after being unhooked or unhooking yourself, you get Decisive Strike become active for 60 seconds. While it's active, you can succeed at a skill check to automatically escape from grasp and stun for 5 seconds. Um, if you succeed, um, or fail, if you try to do the skill check, whether you succeed or you fail, that's it. No more Decisive Strike that game. If you let it go by, you could try and use it the next time you get hooked, because keep in mind, you can be hook saved twice. If you succeed, when you stun the killer, you become the obsession. Decisive Strike was better before, in my opinion. Because now you get hit and people just assume you have decisive and they knock you and they wait it out. They just go chase someone else for a minute and then they come back to you. That's how most killers do it. Before, it was at any point, once per game, you can try and decisive strike your way out of the killer's grasp. No, no requirement to be, unhooked, none of that. Now, I understand the problem with that. Oh, well, this is the first time anybody's been picked up. How come they should be able to decisive strike? Fine. In my opinion, the way it should be is that decisive strike, the timer should be deactivated while you are while you are on the ground. Meaning, if you get knocked in the first 10 seconds, you still have 50 seconds of time on your decisive strike while you're standing. So if you get knocked, if they chase you for a minute and then knock you, you won't have decisive strike anymore. It took too long. If they chase you for 50 seconds and then knock you and then walk away and come back, you'd still have it because you had 10 seconds left on your decisive strike timer. That's how I think it should be. With where it is right now, it's the best perk we've talked about, but it's not God tier. Because it relies on you being hurt, unhooked, and captured again in the next 60 seconds. It's too specific. Again, this is just me. And so far, Borrowed Time and Decisive Strike are going to get the most grief on this. And that's fine. Grief me. I don't care. This is my opinion. You came here to see my opinion. Deal with it. Decisive Strike is plagued by tunnely killers who wait out decisive. If you get knocked within that 60 seconds, the timer should pause. The moment you get picked back up, the timer should resume. You shouldn't just be able to have this timer indefinitely. I agree with that. But you should not be able to be knocked down immediately on unhook because a killer camped. You got unhooked, you get camped, you get hit, and then they walk away and they come back in a minute and then they can just pick you up and hook you. It's not right. It's supposed to be a tunneler and camper deterrent, but they've just found a way around it. That's my problem with it. Fight me. Anyway, moving on. Deja Vu. This is an everybody perk available to all, without any unlocking required. The aura of 3 generators in the closest proximity to each other is revealed to you for 60 seconds at the start of the trial and each time a generator is completed. If you have a map that can track objectives, the generators revealed by Deja Vu are also revealed by the map. Now, this has one use and one use only. To prevent you from getting gen locked. Hopefully. The goal of the perk is to make it so that you don't find yourself in a situation where the last 3 generators are the 3 generators closest to one another. I've never seen anyone use it. It's useful. It's not useful enough. Up next, we have Deliverance, an Atom perk. Um, Basically, if you successfully unhook somebody safely, Deliverance becomes active. When you get hooked, if you have active Deliverance, you can unhook yourself 100% guaranteed. Now, and then you become broken for 60 seconds, so you can't be healed. Now, Deliverance in theory, awesome, because, oh, I can just 100% unhook myself. Kobe, done. The problem is, it only counts if you haven't already been hooked yet, and if your other unhook is safe. It's useful. It's not great. Um, Up next, we've got Desperate Measures. That's another Felix perk. Desperate Measures, you have increased healing speed and unhooking speed by 14% for each injured, hooked, or dying survivor. It is the opposite of Thanatophobia. It is directly made to counteract Thanatophobia. You are better at healing for each hurt person. And it's cool. But it's another situation of being reliant on your team being hurt. So I would say it belongs upper. It's useful. Now up next is Detective's Hunch. Now this is a Detective Tat perk from the Saul DLC. Whenever a generator is completed, the aura of other generators, chests, and totems within 64 meters of you is revealed to you for 10 seconds. If you're holding a map that can track objectives, then when you get those generators revealed to you, they get added to the map reveals. This perk is so underrated. I did not even think about this perk until my friend started using it, and it's so useful. It is so useful. It is so useful. Yeah, I feel good with that spot. It's amazing. It's such a good perk. It's everything you could want out of a perk for Intel. It's just amazing. You don't have to be part of the generator completion, so you could be over here. They complete that gen. Oh, now I know where everything is within 64 meters of me. There's a chest. Let's go and open that. And then right over there is a totem and another totem over there. Let's make sure NOED's not a problem by the end of the game. Let's find Ruin. It's amazing. It is so underrated. It might be one of the most underrated perks in the game. And I want to put it in God tier, but I know I'll get ripped. Excuse me, I had to cough. I personally would want to put it in God tier. I love that perk, and I use it with almost every build now. But I'm trying to be fair and keep my personal feelings as only part of it and not all of it. Up next, we have Distortion, which is a Jeff perk. Um, so you start the trial with 3 tokens. Whenever the killer reads your aura, Distortion activates, tokens consumed. For the next 10 seconds, while Distortion is activated, your aura will not be shown to the killer, and you won't leave scratch marks. Does not affect you when you're in the dying state or affected by killer traps. So if you step in a trap, it doesn't work. But Barbecue, the first 3 times Barbecue would activate, it just won't reveal you. It's useful. It's all right. It's all there is to it. Diversion. Standing within the killer's terror radius while not in a chase for 45 seconds activates diversion. Once diversion is activated, Press the activate ability button while crouching and motionless to throw a pebble, which creates a distraction for the killer at a distance of 20 meters. The distraction consists of the following: a loud noise notification and scratch marks, and then it deactivates. This perk is the best perk ever for the killer and I are not trying to have a problem with one another, and we are just throwing rocks at them, and is the worst perk I can think of offhand. And it is the first perk to go into trash. It's useless. I'm sure somebody is the best pebble thrower ever, and they've gotten some great distractions, or diversions, if you will. But that is the worst perk I can think of offhand. Now, we're going to go through all of them. Maybe we'll find a different one. But right now, as of right now, that is the worst perk in this game. And I can't stand it. And anybody that uses it blows my mind. Up next, we have Empathy. Empathy is a Claudette perk. Dying and injured allies, auras are revealed to you within 128 meters, which is pretty much the whole map almost. That doesn't work if they're in direct contact. It's useful. It's just plain and simple. It's useful. It's not great. It's not horrible. It's useful. Up next, we have Fixated, another Nancy perk. You can see your own scratch marks, and you walk 20% faster when you're not hurt. It's useful. The scratch marks part of the thing, part of it, meh. The walking faster, useful. Not great, useful. Done. Like, some of these are just real cut and dry, guys. Some of them are real simple. Now, this is one of the ones I was talking about in the beginning of the video. Flip Flop with Ash. This is an Ash perk. While you're in the dying state, 50% of your recovery progression is converted into wiggle progress when you are picked up by the killer, up to a maximum of 50% total wiggle progress. So, even at the first level of 40% total wiggle progress, 50% of your recovery progress is converted. If you can recover to half recovery, you will have 25% recovery progress. That is enough to automatically activate Power Struggle, the new Elodie perk. That is huge, and that makes Flip Flop even better than it was. I'm putting it at the top of its useful. I won't put it in pretty solid, but I will put it at the top of its useful. If paired with Power Struggle, it belongs in pretty solid. The combination of those two is huge. Not to mention the Detective Tap perk, where you can, I think it's called Tenacity. I might be getting my perks mixed up, so we'll get there. But I believe it's called Tenacity, and it lets you crawl and recover at the same time. And then maybe Unbreakable, which lets you recover faster. You could just be built to recover and power struggle your way out of things. It's huge. And great against any killer that slugs for a couple seconds. But right now, top of its useful, paired correctly, pretty solid. Maybe even talks of putting it in God tier, but for now, pretty solid. For the people, that is a Zarina perk. It's active whenever you're at full health. You can use the activate ability button while healing a survivor, not using a medkit, just healing them, to instantly heal them one state: dying to injured, injured to healthy. You become injured and broken for 90 seconds, a minute and a half, and you become the obsession. It's an instant heal. It has its usefulnesses, it has its downsides, but in very clutch situations, it's great. I will never forget that there was a moment where one of my friends, Quinn, was being tunneled by a killer and managed to get out of the review for a split second. And I said, "Here, let me heal you real quick." And he was like, "There's not time." And I said, "Just let me heal you." And I used for the people and hid, and it gave him a free hit because he was being tunneled. And because of that situation and other situations, I'm sure are very similar to it, it'll go and it's useful. But yeah. After that, sorry, I did not mean to scroll that. After that, we have Head On. That is a Jane perk. While in a locker for 3 seconds, Head On activates. While head on is active, you can perform a rushed action of leaving the locker and stun the killer for 3 seconds if they're close enough to the locker. And then you become exhausted for 40 seconds. You can't use head on if you're exhausted. You can't use head on if you have crows because you've been standing still too long. I put it in upper. It's useful. Um, yeah, I mean it's not bad, but it's got its complications. It's okay. It's just all there is to it. It's okay. Um, Hope is an everybody perk. As soon as the exit gates are opened, are powered. I'm sorry, the last generator is completed, and exit gates are powered. You get a 7% haste for 2 minutes. Just makes you faster. It's useful. It's just useful. All right, now inner strength, Nancy perk. Every time you cleanse a totem, inner strength activates. While inner strength is activated, hiding inside a locker for 8 seconds while injured or afflicted by deep wound will heal you 1 state. So if it's by deep wound, you'll go back to normal injured. If it's injured, you'll be healthy. Does not activate if you're afflicted by broken. It is the top of pretty solid. Now, I would put this in God tier if you got tokens based on your totem cleanses. So I wouldn't have to be like, oh God, do I want to clean this totem now or do I want to wait until I use this heal? If you could just get tokens, build up heals based on your totem cleansing, it would be God tier for me personally. I do love that perk, and that's the one thing holding it back for me. Um, hmm. I'm sitting here thinking. I now that I think about it, I don't know if we will get a. Oh no, we'll get one God tier, and it's coming soon. Iron Will is a Jake perk. Um, you just don't make noise because you're hurt. It's useful. Your grunts of pain are just reduced by 100%. It's useful. That's just all there is to it. It's upper useful. And that's all there is to it. Now, Kindred. This is going to cause some arguments, but fight me. Kindred is an everybody perk. No need to unlock it. While you are on the hook, all survivors' auras are revealed to you for if they are within 16 meters. Or no. All survivors are revealed. Period. If the killer is within 16 meters of you, all the other killers can see your aura, or can see the killer's aura. Um, I'm explaining this horribly. Let me try again. At top tier, when anyone goes on a hook, everyone else can see everyone's aura. So if I go on a hook, the other three can see everybody's aura. If you go on a hook, the other three of us can see everybody's aura. Kindred makes it so if anyone goes on a hook, no, no. My bad. I'm still explaining this horribly. Kindred makes it so if I go on a hook, you all can see each other's auras. If any of you go on a hook, I can see all of your auras. So if you have a full 4-man squad and 3 of you run Kindred, no matter what, anytime someone gets hooked, everybody can see everybody. One person doesn't even need to run it. And whenever the killer is within 16 meters of the hook survivor, their aura is revealed. This is a god tier perk. You can be mad all you want. And you know what? I'll even compromise and I'll put decisive strike. I can't put it up there, but I'll put it back at the top of pretty solid. I'll do that for you. But Kindred is the best perk in the game in my opinion because it's too good. Knowing where everyone is whenever there's a person on a hook is huge. Knowing where everyone is huge. If you get hooked, everyone knows where everyone is. It's beneficial. If they get hooked, you know if you need to go for the rescue or if someone else is going for it. You know if the killer's close. It's huge. Period. That's just all there is to it. After that, we have Leader. That's another Dwight perk. You increase the other survivor's healing, sabotage, unhook, cleansing, opening exit gates, and chest unlocking speed by 25% if they're within 8 meters of you, and it lasts for 15 seconds when they're no longer within that range. You can only be affected by one person's leadership at a time. It's it's upper useful, very upper useful. Um, it's just really good. That's really all there is to it. Left Behind, Bill perk. If you're the last survivor in the trial, the aura of the hatch is revealed within 32 meters. It's useful. It's selfish. It's mid useful. It's selfish. It is useless to the game unless you are the last person alive. You are making it so that there is a perk that does not matter until literally the end of game's end game point. It's selfish, but it's useful in that situation. There are so many other perks you could run that benefit the team. And that is where a lot of my decisions have come from, benefiting the team. Kindred, team. Detective's Hunch, team. You can say it's not team based because you're the one getting the aura, but it's team based, 1,000,000,000%. You're getting the knowledge of totems, which can then be cleansed to prevent hexes. Botany knowledge, team. Ace in the hole can be team because you could get items for other people because you can only have one item anyway. Um, a lot of these, it's a team game, guys. It's all there is to it. Um, Lightweight, that's an everybody thing. Scratch marks stay visible for 3 seconds fewer. It's less than needed. That's all there is to it. Now, Life is a Feng perk. When you perform a rushed vault, you break into a sprint of 1.5 normal running speed for 3 seconds, and you get exhausted for 40 seconds. Remember when I talked about combining this with something like Dance with Me or Quick and Quiet? Um, they all become really useful. This one's useful anyway. And I would put this light. I would put in pretty solid, honestly. Um, I think Fang might actually have the best perks overall that anybody has. Um, but we'll talk about it. Up next, we have Lucky Break. That is what I believe is Yui's final perk. Um, while Lucky Break is active, you do not leave pools of blood for up to 3 minutes. Lucky Break is active whenever you're injured. So basically, you have 3 minutes of injury where you don't leave blood pools. It's just less than useful, less than needed. Sorry about that. That was my Alexa being an asshole. It's just less than needed, guys. It just is. Oh my god. Um, Stupid notifications. I can't do anything about that either. It's on the lowest volume it can be. Um, yeah, it's just less than needed. Its only true purpose of usefulness is against the Oni, which is ironic because yes, she came out with the Oni's, you know, um pack, but and that's why it's a thing. But the blood pools isn't typically how people find you. Typically, the scratch marks is. Um, it's just less than needed, and that's all there is to it. Metal of Man. Now, Metal of Man is a perk that a lot of people really like. I personally think it's okay, but I've never found a good use for it. But basically, um, earning 3 protection hits activates Metal of Man. Once it's activated, the next time you should be put into the dying state from injured, it's just ignored. Um, and the next time you heal back to full health, the aura will be revealed. Your aura will be revealed to the killer when you are farther than 16 meters from them. And then Metal Man's deactivated if you're put into the dying state, and it increases the odds of becoming the obsession. It's useful because protection hits are always a good thing. It's at the bottom of it's useful, in my opinion. Um, all right, no mither. No mither causes you to be permanently broken. You are just injured all the time. You don't leave pools of blood. Your grunts of pain are reduced by 50%, and you're allowed to recover from the dying state on your own. This is a trash perk. It's slightly better than diversion, but it's trash. Because the only thing that not leaving pools of blood is good against is the Oni. And guess what the Oni can do? But guess what? But guess what? It doesn't count against the Oni. You still leave your blood droplings for the Oni. So now in a game against the Oni, you are permanently trackable. It doesn't completely eliminate your grunts, and most killers don't slug. It is the worst perk in the game, other than diversion. These might be the only two perks that find themselves in trash, but they are both trash. Sorry, David, you're my favorite character, but that perk is trash. Um, Up next, we got No One Left Behind. Once at least one exit gate has been opened, you get 100% more blood points for altruism acts, and perform them 50% faster. And the aura of all other survivors is revealed to you. It's less than needed. We can put it at the top of less than needed if you want, but it's less than needed. It just is. Object of Obsession. I hate this perk, but that's just because of my personal feelings, and I'm going to leave them aside for this one. This is a Lori perk. Um, if you are looking in the direction of the killer, your links will reveal your aura to one another. It does not apply if you're within the terror radius. As the killer's obsession, it's up to 72 meters. If you're not the obsession, it's 64 meters. Increases the odds of being the obsession. Basically, in layman's terms, if you look in the direction of the killer, no matter where they are on the map, if they're within 72 meters of you, or 64 if you're not the obsession, but you probably will be, you can see their aura, they can see yours. Here's why I hate this perk. One, I don't want the killer to know where I am all the time. Two, it if the killer is a stealth killer, a tier 1 Michael, a Ghostface in stealth, a crouched pig, a wraith, any of those things, you cannot see their aura. They can still see yours. It pisses me off, but there are niche builds where it's really good. And having the recon of knowing, hey, the killer's all the way over there focused on somebody else, let's get this done, is useful. It just bothers me, and it never works out for me. But that is not what this is about. This is about true usefulness. Um, Up next, we have Off the Record. That is another arena perk. Once you are unhooked or escape from a hook, Off the Record activates for 80 seconds. Your aura cannot be shown to the killer, and you don't make grunts of pain from injury for those 80 seconds. Um, it's useful. It's not great. Honestly, I might want to put it in less than needed. I'm gonna put it in less than needed. It's just, theoretically, if you just got saved, you're probably not in need of aura invisibility. But that's just me. Up next we have Open Handed, another ace perk. Um, for this one, you basically just increase the aura reading ranges of everything by 8 meters. It's at the bottom of its useful. It has its uses combined with other aura reading things, but aside from that, it's fuck all useless. So it'll be at the bottom of its useful. Pharmacy is a Quentin perk from the Nightmare on Elm Street pack. You unlock chests 80% faster. They make noise 8 meters less So like the hearing range is 8 meters less. And you're guaranteed a green med kit on your first chest unlock. I would say I used to say it was useful because of the speed, not so much the guarantee of the med kit. I used to say it was really useful because of the speed, but now with appraisal, you automatically open chest faster anyway, and you can fucking double down on them. So this is in less than needed now. Um, yeah. Up next we have plunderers. Plunderer's Instinct. So, auras of unopened chests and items in the environment are revealed to you within 32 meters. Grants a considerably better chance of finding items at a higher rarity from chests. Um, Fight me. Plunderers is insane. It's just so strong. And I can't tell you how many times several keys have popped up in one match because of Plunderers. It's it's just insane. Um, and that's all there is to it. And combined with something like Ace in the Hole, it's just dumb. It's just dumb. Um, Poised is another Jane perk. After generator is completed, you don't leave scratch marks for 10 seconds. It's less than needed. It just is. Um, its purpose is fine in intent, but it just yeah. I don't really have anything to say about it. You just like typically when you complete a generator, if you're running away from it, it's because the killer's already there. They don't need scratch marks to see you. I'm sure it could serve its purposes, but it's less than needed. It just is. Next up is Premonition. That's an everybody perk. Um, you get an auditory warning when looking in the direction of the killer in a 45-degree cone within 36 meters. Premonition has a cooldown of 30 seconds each time it activates, and trumps any of the killer's stealth abilities. That makes it better than Object, in my opinion, because it works the same way as Object, half the distance, but doesn't tell the killer you're there and counteracts stealth. It's better than Object. So wherever Object is, which is right here, Premonition goes directly in front of it because they serve the same purpose, but Premonition's better in my opinion. Up next we have Prove Thyself, which I think is Dwight's last perk. For each survivor other than you, gain a 15% stackable repair speed buff awarded. Oh, Jesus Christ. For each survivor other than you, gain a stackable 15% repair speed buff awarded to all repairing survivors within a range of 4 meters up to a maximum of 45%. Which would, if all four of you. Oh, no, basically three. All right. Gain 100% more blood points for cooperative actions. Prove Thyself does not stack with other instances of itself. So basically, with Prove Thyself, if all four of you worked on a generator, all four of you would repair that generator at 45% speed increase. Which, for those of you that don't know, there's a when you work with somebody, you repair 15% less speed for co-op actions. I don't know why. I guess because they don't want you to just power through a gen real fast. But basically, if you have proved thyself, it gets rid of that. And then for each extra person, um, yeah, it's useful. It serves its purpose. It makes it so that it gets rid of that negative for working with people. Quick and quiet. That's a Meg perk. Every 20 seconds, um, it'll reactivate. If it's been used, it'll recover in 20 seconds. You can do a quick action, vaulting, or jumping in a locker without making sound. And it's pretty solid, especially with life. And then again, Dance With Me could stack into it, and it would all work out together. Red Herring is a Zarina perk. It's the last Zarina perk. After repairing a generator for at least 3 seconds, it'll be highlighted in yellow. The generator stays highlighted until it's fully repaired, or you start repairing a new generator, or you enter a locker. If you enter a locker, um, it'll trigger a loud noise notification at that generator, and then it can only happen every 40 seconds. It's less than needed. And I feel bad for Zarina because now both her, two of her 3 perks are in less than needed. But it just is. It's less than needed. It's cool. It's a nifty idea. But the fact that it goes away as soon as you start working on another generator means why didn't you just keep working on that generator? It's just it's cool in theory, poorly done in application. Um, Up next we've got Repressed Alliance. That's another Cheryl perk. Um, Activates after repairing generators for a total of 60 seconds. When repairing a generator while Repressed Alliance is active, press the Activate Ability button. Um, Activate Ability button to call upon the entity to block the generator for 30 seconds. Um, After which Repressed Alliance deactivates. Affected generators will be revealed to all survivors by a white aura. So this was cool at first because it could stop you from like the killer kicking your gen or anything like that. I don't remember what happened, but I know somewhere along the way, um, generators that were blocked by the entity, they no longer regress. So let's say the killer has ruin and you get that gen to 90%, and then the killer shows up. You could activate Repressed Alliance, block that generator off for 30 seconds, and ruin wouldn't affect it, and that makes it a much better perk. And I would put it at the top of its useful because of that. Up next, we have Resilience. Um, you get a 9% increased repairing, healing, sabotaging, unhooking, vaulting, cleansing, gate opening, and chest unlocking speed while injured. I'll put it at the very bottom of its useful. I don't like perks that require you to be injured, but it serves its purpose, in truth be told. Saboteur. Um, you see hook auras within 56 meters um, of the pickup spot if a survivor is being carried, which just makes it better than the I can't remember which one. The perk that applies haste. Basically, you don't need a toolbox to sabotage, and you can sabotage in 2.5 seconds, and you can do it every 60 seconds. Pretty smack dab in the middle of usefulness. And that's a Jake perk, by the way, if I didn't say that already. Which I probably did, but I don't remember because my memory is trash. Up next, we have Second Wind. I believe that's the last of Steve's perks. When you have healed other survivors for the equivalent of 1 full health state, Second Wind activates. While Second Wind is activated, the next time you are unhooked or unhook yourself, you become broken. After 30 seconds, you will automatically heal yourself. Second Wind deactivates if you are completely healed or if you're put into the dying state before it successfully triggers. You lose the broken status effect when it deactivates. So basically, what Second Wind does is if you heal somebody, you make it so that the next time you get hooked and then unhooked, you can't be healed, but after 30 seconds, you'll just automatically heal. If you can stay away from the killer for 30 seconds, you probably should have just gotten healed in the first place. It's less than needed. Poor Steve finds 2 of his perks in less than needed again. But it's just the truth. You know what? No, it's really just not. I'll put it a little bit higher in less than needed, but it's not needed. It's just not. Maybe I'll make some changes at the end, but this is where I'm standing right now. After that, we have Self Care, the last Claudette perk. You no longer need a med kit to heal yourself. You just heal yourself at half speed, and if you use healing items, their efficiency it goes up by 20%. It's pretty solid. It's just a good perk. The ability to heal yourself at any given time is a good perk. That's just all there is to it. Oh, so I apologize. This is slippery meat. Right here. This is slippery meat, but it's old visual back when it still affected hooks or traps. It no longer does that. Now, it gets you 3 extra chances to get off the hook like it used to, and gives you a 4% increased chance of succeeding in so. So you don't get extra chances, or you don't have a better chance of getting out of bear traps like you used to. But now you have a better chance of unhooking yourself, and it still applies the extra 3. It's useful, but it's at the bottom of useful. Small game. Oh, by the way, slippery meat, everybody perk. Small game, also an everybody perk. You get an auditory warning when looking in the direction of a killer's trap and totems in a 45-degree cone within 12 meters. Has a 10-second cooldown. It's useful. Somewhere around there. And that's just all there is to it. Soul Survivor is a Lori perk. Um, your aura cannot be read by the killer within a maximum range of um, 24 meters for each killed or sacrificed survivor. So basically, the only time it really becomes useful is after, well, I guess once somebody dies, it pretty much eliminates nurse's calling. And then if you're the last person alive, um, barbecue and chili might not work on you. It's useful. It's not super useful. Next up, we got what I believe is the last of Jane's perks. Um, it is Solidarity. While injured, healing a survivor without using a med kit also heals you at 50% the rate. It's cool. It belongs somewhere in the middle of its useful. Because it serves its purposes, but it's relatively non-used. Now, Soul Guard. Um, Soul Guard now is a cool perk. It's Cheryl perk. Um, you gain the endurance status effect for 8 seconds after being healed or having recovered from the dying state. During that time, you any damage that would put you into dying applies deep wound instead, and then you have 20 seconds to mend yourself. Blah blah blah. It works the same way as um, any deep wound does. Also, the other thing that's really cool about it, if you're cursed, so if there's Hex Ruin, Noed, things like that, in effect, you can fully recover from the dying state. Now, that is not the reason this is super useful. It is useful, though. But the new way that We're Gonna Live Forever works, it makes this Soul Guard really, really good. So I'm going to put it in upper, it's useful. And when we get to We're Gonna Live Forever, you understand why it's there. Up next, we have Spine Chill. That's an everybody perk. You get notified when the killer is looking directly in your direction and standing within 36 meters. While it's active, skill check trigger odds are increased by 10%, with success zones decreased by 10%. But your repair, healing, sabotaging, unhooking, vaulting, cleansing, and exit gate opening and chest unlocking speeds are all increased by 6%. It's useful. It's less useful than premonition is. It basically is a backwards premonition. Instead of knowing it's coming, you can feel it's coming. It's like a opposite version of, not opposite, but an alternate version of premonition. Up next, Sprint Burst. People love this perk. I hate this perk, but that's just because I'm stupid and I always forget not to run. But basically, Sprint Burst is whenever you start running, you break into a sprint at 1.5 speed for 3 seconds, and then it causes exhaustion for 40 seconds, and then you can do it again when you're no longer exhausted. It's useful. It's not great. It's not bad. It's useful. I hate it, but that's because I'm stupid. Stakeout. That is a. By the way, Sprint Burst is a Meg perk. Stakeout is a Detective Tap perk. Detective Tap's perk Stakeout. For each 15 seconds that you're within the terror radius and not being chased, you can get a token, up to 4 tokens. Whenever you get a good skill check, you lose a token, and it becomes a great skill check, and you get a bonus of 1%. It is at the very bottom of less than needed right now. It it's cool. It's not trash. I can't put it in trash, but it is less than needed. It really is. Um, Being that close to the killer and not being chased is a pain in the ass to begin with, and the trade-off for it's just not worth it. Streetwise is a Nia perk. Um, you reduce item consumption rate by 25% for you and any ally within 8 meters of you, and it lasts on them for 15 seconds once they're in your area. So even if they walk away, they still have it for 15 seconds. Um, it's useful. It's not the best. It's not the worst. Right in the useful section. Technician. This is a Feng perk. Um, this is Feng's last perk. Um, the hearing distance of noises caused by generator repairs is reduced by 8%. On a failed skill check, the following things happen when you're doing a generator repair. The generator will not explode. Um, the generator will lose its progress plus an additional 3%. This is an amazing perk, and it's way better than it used to. It used to be that it was a 50% chance that the generator wouldn't explode. Now it's guaranteed it won't explode. It will not make noise. That is a fucking. It would be god. It's a god tier perk for new players. It's still a really good perk for even experienced players because you mess up sometimes. You just do. You're always going for that great skill check, and sometimes you press it a little too early. Sometimes you're not paying attention. Whatever. You're talking to chat. It happens. That is a great perk. That is a great, 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 pretty solid perk, and god tier for new players. Um, Up next, we have Tenacity. That's Detective Tap's final perk. Um, Nothing stopping you. You can crawl 50% faster and recover at the same time. Now, if you lump that in with Flip Flop and Power Struggle, it's an amazing combo. Alone, still useful. Upper useful. Up next, this is not happening. You perform skill checks at your best, blah, 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 blah. Great skill checks and success zones are for repairing, healing, and sabotaging are increased by 30%. They're 30% bigger while you're injured. It's another situation of being injured. It can go right next to resilience. I don't like perks that require you to be injured, but it has its usefulness. Just like Dead Hard. Don't like perks that require you to be injured, but it has its usefulness. Um, Up next, and I should mention this is not happening as an everybody perk. Up next we have um, these got out of order in here somehow. Up next we have Unbreakable, which is a bill perk, or as I like to call it, Unbreakable, because I'm a horrible person and I apologize. Unbreakable makes it so that once per trial you can recover from the dying state on your own, and your dying state recovery speed is increased by 35%. Now, on its own, it's useful. More useful than a lot of these. I'd put it in the top row of usefulness. I put it towards the top of usefulness. Now, think about this build. Unbreakable. You recover 35% faster. Flip flop. Your recovery progress up to 50%. Your recovery progress is converted to wiggle progress up to 50%. Tenacity, you can crawl 35% or 50% faster and recover at the same time. And then Power Struggle, you only need to get to 25%, to be able to use Power Struggle. So think about this. Unbreakable makes you recover 35% faster, while Tenacity lets you crawl 50% faster and recover, and Flip Flop lets you convert your recovery into Wiggle. You only need to get to 50% to get that 25 for Power Struggle. At 50%, you could get to 50%. Yeah, those 4 perks combined would make the ultimate I'm in the dying state build. It requires you being slugged, which you never know, but it could work out. Overall, those 4 together, awesome. Individually, all of them are good. Yeah, that's all I really have for that. Up next, we have Up the Ante. That's Ace's final perk. For each survivor that is alive other than you, you get a 3% luck, or a stackable 3% luck, awarded to all survivors. So basically, for if everyone's alive, everyone has 9% more luck. It's less than useful. It's less than needed. But I'll put it at the top of less than needed because it's useful, but no one's ever going to run it because no one tries to Kobe like that. Up next, we have Urban Evasion. That is Nia's final perk, as far as I know. Urban Evasion makes it so that your movement speed while crouched is 100% faster. Because if you didn't know, you move at half speed when you're crouched. So basically, you could crouch at the same speed that you could walk. It's useful. It's not great. It's at the bottom of useful, somewhere in that bottom level. Up next, we have Vigil. That is a Quentin perk. Your allies within 8, you and your allies within 8 meters. And then again, I walked away for 15 seconds. It still works. You recover 20% faster from exhaustion, hemorrhage, mangled, hindered, and blindness. Put it at the bottom of it's useful. It is useful. It's very niche. Visionary. You see the auras of generators within 32 meters of you. Anytime a generator is completed, 16 seconds, it's disabled. That's a Felix perk. It's less than needed. It just is. It can be up or less than needed if you want, but it's less than needed. Yeah. Wake Up. That is the last Quentin perk. Once the final generator is powered, exit gates you can just see exit gates auras within 128 meters, which means almost the entire map. While you're opening exit gates, you reveal your aura to other survivors within 128 meters of you, which means almost the entire map. And you open gates 15% faster, and that is why that one can make its way into It's Useful for all of them combined. And then we've got We'll Make It. That is an everybody perk. Whenever you unhook somebody, whenever you rescue them from a hook, your healing speed is increased by 100% for a minute and a half. It's awesome coupled with the right things. Yeah, coupled with the right things, it's amazing. On its own, it's still good. After that, we've got We're Gonna Live Forever. That's David final perk. We're Gonna Live Forever basically used to be really selfish because it was just to get yourself bonus blood points. Basically, the way it works is whenever you take a protection hit or perform a safe rescue, you would get a token, and at 4 tokens, you would get 100% bonus blood points at the end of the match. They added that stunning the killer to rescue a carried survivor and blinding the killer to rescue a carried survivor both count for tokens now. And they added the effect that when healing a dying survivor, your healing speed is increased by 100%. And that makes this perk no longer selfish and makes it very, very useful, especially when coupled with Soul Guard. Because if you have Soul Guard and your friend has We're Gonna Live Forever, or if both of you have both, when you go to heal somebody from the dying state, you do it at double speed. And then when they get up, they could take another protection hit because of Soul Guard. And that's why We're Gonna Live Forever is so much better now. Especially if you have a full group and you all run We're Gonna Live Forever on top of Soul Guard, it's a very powerful combination, and I think beginning to be the new meta. And then the final perk we have is Windows of Opportunity. Auras of pallets, breakable walls, and vaults are revealed to you within 20 meters. It has a 20-second cooldown. It's useful because you could couple it with things like Dance with Me, Lithe, Quick and Quiet, stuff like that. But it's bottom level useful. Yeah, and then so let's see. Let's go ahead and I guess I should do this over here. Let's go ahead and just finalize where these went because these kind of got mixed up because of their movement. And let's go ahead and disable your view of me for a moment. So there we have it, guys. That is the final look at how this, in my opinion, um, what I think Dead by Daylight's perks look like. The best two perks in the game, in my opinion, are Kindred and Plunderers. They're amazing. They're very underrated. The worst two perks, in my opinion, are No Mither and Diversion. I don't think that they're useful at all, in my opinion. They just piss me off, and that's all I can say. Um, in relatively good news, though, most of the perks, as you can tell, found their way into its useful, and by some miraculous balancing system, um, there are as many perks in God tier as there are in trash, and there are as many perks in pretty solid as there are in less than needed. And I think that kind of shows that the perks in the game are fairly well balanced. Um, I will say one thing that is very underrated. If you notice, one, two, three, all of Feng's perks found their way into pretty solid, and that is a pretty amazing thing to think about. Um, Unfortunately, two of Steve's perks, um, and it looks like only two of Steve's. Oh, and two of no. Oh, and two of Zarina's perks found their way into less than needed. But it is what it is. It could have been worse. At least they relatively stayed balanced. Um, but yeah. So, with that being said, this was my opinion. Wholeheartedly just my opinion. But this is where I put the perks in the game. And I think that overall, perk wise, the game is very well balanced for survivors. There are um, 15 perks that I would say are definitely on the low end of the game and less than needed. When you count the new perks, there are probably 15 perks that I would say are on the top end and should really be considered being used in any situation. And then the rest of the perks, which is, you know, just doing basic math, close to like 55 more perks. They're just useful in any situation, and that's amazing. You know, it just is. Um, they're useful, and that's how the game should be. It should be balanced. So, with that being said, this is definitely where I end um, the video. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and let me know what you guys think of this. Let me know if you guys want me to do more of these. I will do, killer perks next. I'll even rank the killers, maps. Dead by Daylight's one of my favorite games, and I play it a lot. And I'm interested in doing stuff like this more, with all kinds of things. So let me know what you guys thought. And most importantly, I hope you guys enjoyed. As always, I am Pip. I mean, hell, it says it right there. That's me. So as always, I am Pip. Y'all the greatest. And when in doubt, we'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.